Yo, check it out. I believe that we are live streaming right now. Yeah, so there's gonna be some different candidates walking in. There was one here earlier. They're in their hotel room or something. We're gonna see what's up. Um, I'm actually just gonna get some notes together. Um, Deshona, can you hear me? Check, check, check. My headphones on. Okay, check, check.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. I think some more people will be coming in shortly. Yeah. Okay, just waiting for some more people to
All
show
right,
up.
thank you.
Okay, there was someone in here earlier. Are you a candidate or are you activist or what's your story?
I work for Congresswoman Sheila Sharpless McCormick,
Awesome.
who's also a candidate as well.
That's wonderful. Nice to meet you. For
Mm,
what
Nice to
what
meet
party are you running for? What party are you running in?
you. Democrat, Florida 20, so South Florida.
Oh, that's cool. Okay. Thank you so much for attending. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
While you're on, right? Yeah. Actually, I'm live streaming, right? Yeah. I'm just getting some notes together. But why don't you tell more about your candidate, right? Go ahead. You could just do they have a website, right? We want to say about some of the positions or anything? No. All right. Actually, Brian, what's your
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was
yeah.
unmuted. But yeah, so Congresswoman Sheila Sharpless McCormick is the first Haitian Democrat to be a representative in Congress. We currently serve parts of Broward County and parts of Palm Beach County.
Okay.
Um, our past election, since we're in such a Democratic heavy area, we won by 5 votes. But so far, we have passed major bills such as the gas tax bill. We have passed our People's Prosperity Plan that was very talked about. And so we passed it in the House. As we know, it takes about 2 years for a bill to become law. But we have done our part. We have wrote it, and right now it's in the Ways and Means Committee.
That's cool.
Um, she currently serves on transportation.
That's cool. We got other candidate. There was one candidate who was in here earlier. She was in the hotel. She's resetting up. Got another guy. We have a lot of new people come cycling in. This is quite interesting. Just so you know, Brian is actually he's going to make a presentation at the beginning of this whole thing. Deshaun is representing another congresswoman. Henry Martin. I'm not sure what his. You want to introduce yourself, Henry? Go ahead.
I am a congressional candidate.
For what position?
Missouri 6th Congressional.
Awesome, dude. So you have a website? Anything you want to share with us before while we're just getting set up here?
It is henrymartinforcongress.com.
And you want to share any of your particular overall views, just since we have a little bit of time before we get started here?
Well, basically, the foundation of my campaign is healthcare, justice, and democracy. As we no American family should go broke from the onset of a major illness or injury, and every person deserves access to care. Um, Justice, because equal justice under the law can't just be words that we say, but it has to be words with action. Action on climate change, environmental justice, social justice, reforms to our criminal justice system that turn it away from the perpetual poverty inducer that it currently is, and finally, our democracy, because we need to expand voting rights, see to it that every person eligible to vote in America gets to the ballot box, so that people can participate in their right to self governance.
That's cool, man. All right. Actually, I saw my friend Coletta Sharp just jumped in, aka Snapchat Queen. Go ahead, introduce yourself.
Peace and blessing, guys, goddesses, kings, and queens. Can y'all hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
I'm Coletta Sharp from North Carolina. I'm an advocate here. Just trying to get useful information to send out to the people and the voters to make a positive decision for themselves.
That's wonderful. Yeah. All right. I'm expecting some more people to drop in, but actually, we're going to start off today's event with actually this guy over here. I can't say enough about him. I'll let him say it for himself, though. Go ahead, Brian. It's all you. I've also, just so you know, enabled screen sharing for everybody. So, right, if you guys have certain things you want to make your point, it's not a problem. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, so DGL7, thanks. It's always good to be on one of these panels. So you asked me to present a little bit about talking about election reform today, and so a larger reform of unionizing as swing voters to reshape our political structure. So yeah, let me see if I can share my screen here. So in the 21st century, yeah, we can crowdsource democracy. The system isn't set up in a way that's working for the American people. The Republicans and Democrats win 99% of the time. They're the only game in town. So we need a better game. We need a new game, one that works for us. And the way that we can crowdsource democracy is by unionizing as swing voters and writing our own legislation. Election reform, that we're talking about today, it's really just it's means to an end. What are the policies that we want to put on? We want Congress to put on the president's desk. What is the legislation that we want passed? And we don't need 535 people in Congress to figure these things out for us. The way that the framers did when they wrote the Constitution in 1787. That was the only model they knew, was put everybody in one room and have them work things out. But we don't have that limitation, that hurdle in the 21st century. We can communicate and collaborate across the internet like we're doing now. We can write our own legislative demands. And so Congress doesn't get a lot done. You can see by this chart that they're down to 18% approval rating. And so everybody knows that the system is broken. And so we can skip right to the end game. What is the policies that we want? We can write them ourselves and back them up with a union of swing voters. Now, the problem with third parties is there's a lot of hurdles to political influence. The duopoly writes the rules to keep out other players. The first past the post voting really ensures that we've got a two-party system, that we're always going to have a party in power and a party trying to get in power, and it flips back and forth between those two. But that's Düringer's law, that's just the way that it works, that there's always going to be two parties. And so they set up for third parties who want to challenge them. They put other hurdles in the way, like ballot access. Matt Hoh in North Carolina, collected thousands and tens of thousands of signatures just to try and get on the ballot, whereas candidates who are running as Republicans and Democrats don't have to do any of that. They just have to ask and they're on the ballot. So the duopoly structures these things to make us waste our time. I spent many years working with third parties, and it's a big unnecessary waste of time that they do just to stop us from getting any traction and to keep us distracted and busy. And then of course there's the funding problems, where again here in North Carolina in the last U.S. Senate race, they spent about $200 million to fight over this one U.S. Senate seat, and no third party is going to be able to compete with that. So a better model is to unionize as swing voters. Swing voters are the most powerful voters in the electorate. And whereas a third party candidate would need 35% to win, a union of swing voters nationwide would need a tenth of that, 3.5%, to be able to control the balance of power in Washington, D.C. And then so we can shift the game. Instead of letting Congress divide us into Republicans and Democrats and pitting us against each other, we can flip the model around and make it incumbents versus challengers. And so by having our own legislative package, we have our own metric for voting besides party affiliation. What exactly do we want done? And if the incumbents get it done, then great, they win. If they turn it down, then the challengers get a chance to win. And so a block of swing voters can control a half a dozen U.S. Senate seats, a dozen or more House seats, and take control of the national political conversation. Let the American people know that there's an alternative to just voting for the lesser of two evils, and instead we can put policy over politicians.
Okay, if I could just get a word in for a second. Sorry to break it
Yeah.
up. Jackie McGowan is just entering. I'll have her introduce herself, and I'll tell her what's going on. You know what I mean, so that she's not like, what did she just walk into? So Jackie, is this Jackie?
Yes.
Jackie, it's great to see you.
You too.
Yeah.
If I need to read, do I need to read something before this? What was that?
No, actually, the thing is that I'm going to tell you about that in a moment. But why don't you introduce yourselves to our audience? You're running for Congress, I believe.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. So introduce your campaign if you want, your website, things like that.
Okay. My name is Jackie McGowan. I am running for Congress in Illinois District 17. My primary is this Tuesday, June 28th. And I am so excited to get ready to take on a Trump Republican.
Okay.
But I got to win the primary first.
So as you saw, the Unified Platform is actually a document that's available online. It's a set of proposals that can be made, that's publicly, you know, anybody can make a proposal. Then we're going to have the candidates vote on them. So that's going on. But actually, one thing I'm going to actually tell you guys right now is a lot of people out there don't want any secession plan. We look at actually Jack Welch, he's actually a world famous manager, and he said one of the reasons for exorbitant corporate pay is because there's no succession plan, and then these CEOs can force bargains on these companies to make them the king. So the thing is that we look at like Justice Democrats, we don't really see them participating, but we do see that we have Republicans, Democrats, Independents, Libertarians, Green Party, all participating with this group, with candidates that are showing that they're willing to break party lines to get positive change for the people and just willing to come to a table and have a discussion. So thank you so much for participating. Now, I always put my partners first. So my friend Brian over here is a 4-time legislator from New Hampshire. He's very qualified. I actually work with many national programs. I've crossed paths with him in several of them. Okay, so I know he's dipping in deep. Besides being a 4-time legislator, I believe in New Hampshire you were? How many times?
3 times.
3 times. I'm sorry, 3 times. But you actually gave that up to engage in this project right here. You moved to North Carolina, which is a swing state. So what happens is that he actually has acquired resources to help candidates, specifically in swing states. I know you're from Minnesota. We have another candidate here. But I'm sorry. But there may, as part of Up 22, I'll definitely try to help out your campaign if I can. Yeah? Go ahead, Brian. So he's introducing the plan right now. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Is Illinois on there? Is Illinois in the swing state?
Illinois is not as much of a swing state. I'm not sure if there's any,
Okay.
how many swing districts there are in there, but
Mine is, I'm in a swing district. Very, very purple. It voted overwhelmingly for Obama and for Trump, while keeping the seat that I'm running in as a Democrat. They kept the Democrat in that seat for a decade while voting for both parties. So it depends on what part of Illinois you're looking at, but the seat that I'm running in is one of the most purple districts in the entire country.
yeah.
I'm with it.
And so it just
It's a
kind of
pleasure to meet you, Brian.
a pleasure to meet you too. Yeah, so I just wanted to conclude, I guess, by saying that this reforming of the political structure, shifting things from what we have now, where everything's managed by the duopoly, to a people-powered system where power comes from the bottom and works its way up. Essentially, a People's Congress can set itself up as a third branch of Congress, and make one legislative proposal to the sitting members of Congress every 2 years with the election, and say, look, this is what we want done. Get it done. Well, if you're willing to be our rubber stamps, we'll let you keep the job for another couple of years, and if you turn us down, we can replace you. And so that sort of framework is a Gandhian Satyagraha campaign, which is what, Jackie, you were looking at on the screen popping up. I'm going to share this real quick.
Okay.
And so this comes from the idea of not trying to seize power for ourselves, but instead focusing on the policy, focusing on what do we want done, and instead of being distracted by the who gets it done, focusing on the what. When Gandhi set off on his Salt March, he described this strategy of saying, look, this isn't about seizing power, but it's about persuading people to our shared vision of improving American society. And yeah, so with that, I think I'll wrap this up, and we can talk about all the other types of election reforms that that are out there. But the thing about unionizing as swing voters is that you don't have to change any of the existing laws or rules to have power and influence. You don't have to change the way we vote. We don't have to ask for ballot access. We don't have to find candidates who are willing to run against well-funded opponents. We don't have to change the Constitution. We, the people, just have to agree to work together and have one set of demands. And when 3.5% of Americans are willing to unionize and vote together, we'll control the balance of power in Washington. So
Okay,
that's
what's the
that's the
website
vision
again?
of a better America that I have. All right, thank you.
Okay, what's the website for that again? You have a
Oh yeah,
website,
yeah,
right?
yeah. AnAmericanUnion.com.
And you have meetings on Wednesdays or something?
We have, yeah, well, there's a bunch of different meetings going
Oh
on.
my God, there's too many meetings. I'm going to all the meetings. I'm crazy. Yeah, I'm gonna make it to your meetings. Have I made it to one yet? I don't know. I think I made it to one. Oh my
We
God.
have different ones depending on different topics. So if you want to talk about universal basic income, we got one on Monday night.
Cool. All right, so let's get to some of the actual unified platform stuff. Now the thing is, we have an open session where anybody can make a proposal, as in terms of changes that they might want to see as candidates who may have experienced problems with ballot access. You may have experienced problems with, for example, right? Some cities, I know, like here in New York City, right? By the way, Chicago, I think, is the third largest city in the nation, right? Yeah, that's a powerful team up. Actually, I'm looking for crew in Chicago and LA to team up and to pump out of there. But the thing is that, like, we take a look at some things such as when you try to run for office, sometimes you need an emblem and all kinds of weird paperwork. You know what I mean? And then it's got to be stapled instead of, like, in binders and stuff like that. Maybe we could have a unified process for getting to the ballot, which is less costly and just straightforward, so that we can further democratize the process. Is that something that maybe we could all agree on, or any suggestions? Okay, so I'll throw that on the proposal for vote. Now it's time for anybody else who has a proposal, right, for election change, ways that we could change our system to become more fair.
Well, I don't know how to make it more fair, but we do need to expand access to the ballot box, and what methods by which we can do that. We can, hell's bells. I've hinted to several people that this thing right here can be our means to vote. We shop with it. We do all kinds of stuff with this, and it's completely and totally, well, it's mostly secure. I can't say completely secure. I do understand that hacking is a possible thing, but there's no reason why we can't expand access to the ballot box through everybody participating in mail-in voting, using our cell phones to vote. There are ways to ensure the security of the vote, but we've got to be willing to make those investments. Unfortunately, we're less willing to invest in the things that enhance and make the lives of people easier than we are to invest in yet another destroyer or aircraft carrier.
Okay, so the proposal I'll say is open up voting open up voting to be available by cell phone.
By cell phone, yep. There's no reason why a county clerk can't get a good, accurate count utilizing.
Just so you know, another
phone.
thing that we do is when you put, by the way, the deadline's soon coming for this document, you can also put your name there and a link back to your site that will also help your website search engine optimization, right? So, and by the way, if this proposal actually gets some traction, you will be credited with coming up with this proposal, right? So, I'm sorry, what's your name again?
Henry Martin.
Henry Martin. Okay, that's cool.
It's right back there.
That's a good name.
See on the wall?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay.
May I say something?
Yes, absolutely. Just jump on in. You don't gotta ask.
So I would love to see some sort of fingerprinting process at the ballot box. I don't understand why we don't have a way to verify like who has actually submitted a vote. And I think that's a pretty simple way. We put our fingers in our thumbprints and fingerprints like into our phones in order to gain access to it. So maybe something along those lines of being able to verify that someone is who they say they are, right?
Mhm.
Also, I think that every election needs to be a holiday. People shouldn't have to take time out of work in order to go vote. And we need to expand voting access as much as possible. You know, California is now issuing mail-in ballots to everyone for every election from here until eternity, right? But there's no way to verify if, you know, someone is who they say they are when they vote, right? Through that process.
Actually,
go ahead.
Actually, here in Missouri, they mail you a voter registration card that you do use at the ballot box. That's a verification of who you are. The suggestion of utilizing the cell phones do require passcodes and fingerprints to get in.
Sure.
Your county clerk can send a QR code that you would have to validate before you cast your ballot, and so on and so on. So when we're talking about fingerprinting at the ballot box, that's not necessary, because you're going to end up having to train people on how to fingerprint somebody properly.
Okay. If I could just jump in for a second. Okay. I'm not mad at that comment right there, but just so you know, the way that this process works is,
I understand.
Any proposal can go up, and then it goes up for vote. You know what I mean? So, like, you could even say that you don't want you decidedly want to ban fingerprint verification. That could go up there too. I'm not mad at that, right? But we're not here to argue about what's right or wrong. We're here to just make the proposals and put it up for vote. But if we have a suggestion, right, that helps her to maybe like get one that could pass a little bit, you're like, oh, I would vote for this. I think a lot more people would vote for it if it just made this little tweak. I'm not against that. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna let you keep going on. I just want to throw that out there, though. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I'm not telling you you're wrong. It's just the one thing I do say is that we have to be careful with certain things because they are a little more invasive, and you're looking at additional training for people at the ballot box. So
that's a fair point.
So those,
and I appreciate the debate.
Yeah, that part.
You know, I want to walk through these things together.
We've
got to be able to come up with better solutions, and we can't do that if we're not talking.
Because
we encourage that to be done on another program, and we could even set that up here if you want. But today,
that's
the way all of these programs have run. It's just like to run through the proposals.
Okay.
Sorry. Go ahead, Coletta.
I was just gonna say, a lot of times I notice there's not enough access to getting there. So if we can do some of the votings in the communities where the people are, because you're dealing with people, some of them are illiterate or uneducated. You're dealing with disabled families or people who are immobile, who don't have transportation. So if we can use like some of the churches, because it's a church almost on every corner, use some of their space to set up voting places for the convenience of it being in the neighborhoods.
Hey, you know what? Anything's subject to change, and that's not a horrible suggestion, right? There's church and state, but we're going to. I think that might be okay. I mean, we'll see. I won't have a problem with it. So I'll say have voting at the churches.
I mean, you don't necessarily have to be a church, but like a community park where, you know, people have closer access, in their area, as opposed to me having to find a location that's somewhere far in that stream, especially if I have to walk.
I like that. Okay. Any other proposals you guys want to make at this time?
I've got one.
Go ahead, shoot it.
What if we made them like ice cream trucks? Like voting mobiles that drove around neighborhoods, you know, the disproportionately affected communities that don't have access to voting polls.
I think that sounds fun as hell.
And don't have rides, right? That would kind of solve it. Like we had a mobile truck that was driving around those communities to make sure that everyone exercised their right to vote. We all fought really hard, especially women and minorities, for the right to vote. And so it shouldn't be, you know, difficult, time consuming, or costly in order to exercise that.
Yeah. All right. I have a proposal myself, right? The thing is that when we see, okay, you know, like how like when they can't fill the stadium. I'm sorry. Do you want to say something, Coletta? Okay, your hand's up. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. So you know how like when they can't fill the stadium at the sports games, they black out the game so you can't watch it. Yeah. So what happens if we said, right, if they want to air the debates on live, they got to give all the candidates equal speaking time, and you got to have all the candidates on. You can't be like, oh, you're too small, thing, you're out. You know what I mean? Just give them a fair shot. That's all I'm saying. Well, maybe that's too much, but that's just a proposal that's out there as well.
Well, that's unfortunately that is, and that's something you'd have to run by the presidential debate committee, the presidential debate commission, and the news networks, because they do set the parameters that say you have to be polling at a certain number to be included in the presidential debates. So I mean, I don't know what the answer there is, because these are private entities, these aren't public entities.
Okay.
So and that's going to be a tough sell. In things that are public, we can affect. Things that are private, we're going to have a more difficult time making any significant movement.
Sure.
But I see your point.
Okay.
I think the direction that Brian was talking about earlier in his proposal would kind of do away with a lot of that, because what I'm learning with dealing with politics is it's a bunch of back and forth, where when I'm talking to Republicans, they're blaming the Democrats. When I'm talking to Democrats, they're blaming Republicans. But my keyword was bipartisanship. So when I'm speaking on what can we do to come together to create something for the betterment of the people, I keep getting this children game. Like I tell them, it's like I feel like I'm talking to my child, trying to explain to a child, no, you can't eat all this candy because it's going to affect you in the long run. You know what I'm saying? So it's like with the politicians, it's like they keep going back and forth, blaming each other. But then when you say, hey, we have our own collective solutions to our issues because we understand we have challenges, it's like they're so busy fussing that they're not expecting you to say, hey, I can help myself. These are my solutions. You know what I'm saying? So if we start looking at it in a different perspective, we're giving them too much power and authority, to whereas they can hold these back closed meetings and not include us in, or they make us feel like, my opinion or my whatever I'm doing down here on the little end don't matter. So we have to find a way to get our strength and our power back to the people, because we've clearly given it away.
Well, actually, I can tell you about a plan that I'm working on right now. So the thing is that, okay, this is an ill plan. This is actually the future of actually what I'm doing after this Up 22 is over. The thing is that we're collecting, by FOIA requests, you can actually get the list of all the voters in your district for the Democrats and Republicans. And here in New York City, we've been compiling this data for a couple of years. We make this available on something called Rep My Block. We're taking this program national after this, and we're going to be collecting data for all the districts and just be compiling this and giving this to activists so they can know where to go door to door and make activism happen and force change. And also, we're trying to run for county committee and take control of the judges. So that's a separate plan, but so that's on the way, all right? But that's really not for the Up 22 platform. That's just a ground up movement, yeah? But we will be supporting candidates. Hell yeah. All right. Anyways,
some of the other proposals that you had in the Google Doc, I guess I'd like to support the one for requiring paper ballots for all votes, so that there is a very clear mechanism for recounting and making sure that everything. We know that exactly how people voted. There's been too many problems with touchscreen voting systems and things like that we need to make sure our elections are accurate.
Okay. I mean, I support also the, I make sense, but also the cell phone. If people can do like financial transactions with their phone, I don't see why we couldn't securely do it, vote by our phone, But I get the paper thing too. I'm not mad at either one. If they can just make it work, please do a better job, because it sucks right now. Yeah.
That's going to be a difficult sell for people who are hardliners with paper. I mean, honestly, the county clerk could print off a paper ballot
and send you a receipt
at the clerk's office and have a paper receipt in their office that could take care of all of that. And as far as
they could mail it to you,
that paper trail, if that's necessary. But like I said, the idea of utilizing our phone to vote, you want to, and what they do in several countries is they open up the political system to gambling. Do you want to increase people's participation? People, if they can bet on who's going to win, I guarantee you, people will show up to the polls.
Oh no! Oh no! Are you serious?
Heck
They'll
yeah!
play the game and they'll
I'm
try to
serious.
make
I'm
money?
serious as a
I
architect.
could see that happening. Oh my god!
People will inform themselves.
Kanye's winning. Kanye's getting elected right there. Boom.
I promise
People are getting rich.
they'll get smarter.
That's
They'll
hilarious.
inform themselves, and with that information, then they'll get out there and they'll make their decisions, and they'll have every incentive to push their candidate through. I promise you, the people that don't regularly vote now, but are avid gamblers, I promise you they'll be pressing.
Okay.
But that's just a
Well,
thought.
Okay, do we have any other proposals? Because I have some other ones lined up, but I want to really give the candidates the chance to shine, because this is really, I think, this is the 22 platform, and this is your race. So throw out those ideas for election reform. Go ahead. Any issues that you had getting to the ballot, or that you just see, like, because you're experiencing firsthand, going through the process. Is there anything that you feel like you would like to see better, as in terms of access to race and stuff like that? Fairness? Anything?
Well, in all honesty, and I haven't seen anything in Kansas City or in my district that concerns me. Everybody does have fair access to the ballot, but as I said, there are people who don't come out and vote. I think one of the things that people don't think about is the effect of gerrymandering long term. Gerrymandering itself, one, it allows politicians to pick their voters.
Yeah.
Well, that's just part of the equation. Then the equation gets more complicated the more years you go down the road. So there comes a point where people become apathetic. They're like, it doesn't matter what I do, what I say, how I vote. My guy or gal is not going to win. And so then you see a drop off in participation of those voters. And then the next step is then you see a drop off in the participation of candidates.
Quick question. Did redistricting go down smoothly in your state? Because in our state, they had to throw out the redistricting and they had to redo. Did the same thing happen in your state?
Well, here in Missouri, we just got our districts finalized right before the end of the Missouri House and the Missouri congressional session. They just got it finalized, so it took a while. They were trying to go to a 7-1 map as opposed to the 6-2
Okay, but they
map.
passed and it's cool. Okay, because
They did
had
pass
to
it
throw
and
out
it's
the results here. They had to throw them
No.
out. Okay.
No, it was never a question
Just
of
that
it was.
dysfunctional. Yeah, it's really.
Yeah, it was never the only dysfunction that we have is Republicans are trying to seize more control. That's the only dysfunction we really have. Other than that, everything went smoothly. So we don't have those issues as far as access to ballot issues in Missouri.
How complex is it to file your ballot application? Isn't it? You usually need to hire a lawyer, right? Isn't that like a big pain?
Well, we require a lawyer for ballot application.
Yeah, because it's so complicated, right?
Oh, well, no, actually, to get a ballot in Missouri is not hard. You just have to have a reason why you're voting absentee. If you're not going to show up on election day, you have to have what they consider a valid reason to not vote in person on election day.
What about run for office?
Running for office, it's pretty seamless. All you have to do is know where to go, and where to go when the windows are. Everything is at your fingertips here in Missouri.
How about in Illinois? How about in Illinois, Jackie? Are things smooth in Illinois? Is it easy, or is there a lot of paperwork and is it complicated? I tell you, it's real tough.
Every state is different. Right now, I am not seeing any problems with people gaining access to vote. We also had some serious gerrymandering done, but this was by the Democrats. I am a Democrat. The gerrymandering that just took place seriously benefited the Democrats. So both parties exploit this, and you can't hold one side accountable and not the other.
Okay, I'm not mad at
those that are in power in each state will continue to take advantage of this. My district was so gerrymandered that I had a fundraiser, and I got to the fundraiser, and by the time I got there, half of the people that were in attendance at my fundraiser found out the night before that they were no longer in my district. And so, it's a game that both sides play. And like, if you're going to say that only Republicans do it, I'm going to say that's not true. Democrats use it to their benefit as well.
Okay. Well,
So can I
hopefully
say
yeah. Go ahead.
my whole question is, once we get these candidates in position, what are their duties? What can they not do? And what are they gonna do? Because it seems like we keep going back and forth when we do get them elected. And like I said, it's like when it comes down to the bill actually being passed on, when it really matters to the people, it always, it's stuck on the Senate floor or stuck in the House. So what is going on to whereas we can get a bipartisan bill with no problem for wars, but when it comes down to critical issues of the families who are working, taking care of America, who have disabled family members, who have veterans fighting in wars, when we're asking our supposed to be leaders a simple question, when we put you in Washington to come deal with our issues that we're dealing with down here, we're getting all these wraparound, well, we can't vote or this person not voting. The voting don't matter to me when I'm dealing with real issues. What matters to me is if you're in that office to do a job to work together and stop going back and forth with each other, because it seems like that's all they're doing. Nobody has a solid solution. I probably took more notes than anybody up here, and I'm paying attention because if it matters, you take notes.
Good.
You get what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
I mean, real life stuff, I'm talking to politicians who are talking to me and ain't nobody took no note, but you're telling me it matters. So if my opinion mattered, you will take a note, reflect on it, and then come back to me and, talk to me about it so that we can come up with a solution. But it seems like everybody is just rebuttaling back and forth on the same issues. And every time I go and read the bios of all these Republicans and Democrats, the bios are reading the same thing. You're for housing, you're for jobs, you're for this, and you're for that. But then when it comes to sitting down and saying, well, who is actually going to put it in black and white so that it becomes a bill to actually help the people who are suffering, it becomes, well, the Democrats ain't doing this in the House and Republicans ain't. It becomes a game of children again. Everybody want to pass the responsibility. So my question is, what is the responsibilities and duties and who actually have the pen power to make it work for us, the people who put you there?
Once they're already in, anybody want to answer that?
Well, Colette, I can try and field that as best I can. I'm actually answering a questionnaire that almost asked that very same thing. What should Congress be doing to address the cost of living in Missouri? And one of the problems with when we get into the free market economy is that how much regulation should Congress issue, or should Congress be involved in to maintain the free market? The more regulation we put in, the less free the market is, so to speak. So that's a very, very fine line, because you have extremes on both sides. You have people on one side that say there should be no regulation, and you have people on the other side that say there should be regulations in these areas. So in order to achieve compromise, everybody has to give something.
Yeah.
So I have no real issue with establishing a public service commission in certain areas, because when I start to look at things from a whole world view, because we're talking about how some of these things affect farmers, some of these things affect people on the ground. So corporations should not be allowed to exploit us at any point. And so that's where we get that fine line. So right now, what we're experiencing a spike in gas prices. where we've had $120 barrel oil before, $130 barrel oil before, but we've never had gas prices at $5 and an average of $5 across the country.
Okay.
So that's our reality. So
Sure.
it's as hard as it is. We have to look to our legislators to find that area for compromise to do the least amount of damage in both the private sector and the public sector. I mean, I don't know if that's a good answer.
That's a good answer.
But
All right.
that's
a good answer.
That's honest.
I appreciate that. Jackie, you said you wanted to say something about that?
Yes, Coletta, thank you so much for your passion and for really caring about hardworking people and really trying to make informed decisions. Like, I really honor you, you know, rather than burying your head in the sand in these tumultuous times, you're digging your heels in and trying to figure out, you know, how we correct all these mistakes that are being made. And I think that the only way that we can fix what you're talking about is to stop like corporations from funding politicians. We need state mandated, you know, maximum amounts of money given to each politician so that the race is even. And if we don't start electing good people, and if we don't start getting to the polls and exercising the right that we fought really hard to get, then we're going to keep getting the same outcome. You know, the reason that I am running for office is because I was a lobbyist in California, and I worked on campaigns. And the first state hearing that I went to with my firm, I was sitting in the hearing, and we worked really hard at getting veterans and medically sick people, you know, to come and testify. And we had 50 people, you know, give on-point testimony. And in the cannabis industry, it's like a circular firing squad, like someone's always shooting at each other. And that day we were all united, and every lobbyist that spoke was on point. We were all giving the same message, and we were told to expect nothing but blue skies, and our bill was going to sail on through, and our bill was titled compassion, right? How do you kill something called compassion, right? And that bill got nuked that day. And I turned to my, you know, more experienced lobbyists next to me in that hearing, and I said, what in the world just happened? You told me this was going to pass. And he said, so-and-so and so-and-so, two assembly members, got in a fight in a previous committee on a different bill, and they retaliated against each other on our bill. And I said, you've got to be kidding me. That is the way this works? And I said, I've got to get in there and I've got to fix this, you know? And so I'm not taking corporate money. I'm one of 6 candidates running as a Democrat in this primary on Tuesday in Illinois. And every one of them have out fundraised me. I spent my entire day today driving from city to city, calling small donors that donated $5, $15, $25, and asking them to re-up, right? To continue to support me, have my back, right? And that's what we have to do. We have to start electing people from our own communities with good heart. And if we stand behind good people and continue to support good people, we will change this. Thank you, Coletta, for everything that you've just brought to the table, because you just inspired me more.
Thank you. Actually, we have a new guy who just jumped in, Eric. You want to introduce yourself? Go ahead. You're still muted. Go ahead.
Hey, how you doing?
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I'm Eric Frankel. I'm running for state assembly in Brooklyn.
Oh, hell yeah. Nice. Okay. I'm in New York City myself, brother. Nice.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, we're in Sunset Park. I don't know if you hear the wonderful sounds of Brooklyn. Those are the sirens.
Okay.
I spent the last 20 years in Vietnam. We teach people how to create sustainable businesses through e-commerce.
Okay.
So selling on eBay, Amazon, Etsy, so artisans could, you know, create sustainable businesses. I come back to Brooklyn. I'm running against Democratic Socialists who actually work for the developers. I don't know if you're aware, but in Brooklyn, you have the developers creating nonprofit organizations and disguising themselves as tenant advocates. So
there's so much money in that. There's billions there. There's billions.
Yeah.
That's
so
the
they
biggest
really
thing
are
in New York
what they
City.
claim they're against.
Yeah, I know about that.
So, yeah.
I'm in that work too.
Yeah. But when I try to convince people, like, you know, especially I look like the gentrifier to people in Brooklyn, but like I said, most people know we're here 130 years.
Well, right now what we're doing is we're working on election reforms. Wait a second. I appreciate your work. I'll probably do a one-on-one interview with you. But what's
Yeah, sure.
what's your website for all the viewers and stuff like that? If they want to find out more about your campaign.
EricFrankel.com.
How do you spell that?
ErikFrankel.
Okay, I'll put that on the screen. All right, cool, beautiful.
Yeah,
All right,
cool.
so do you have any suggestions as in terms of like election reform? You know, sometimes Theo Chino, he's been helping.
I so much love for.
I just told the whole panel about this. We're taking the Rep My Block program, which is we've collected the data for the voter registration for the Republicans and Democrats for like a couple of years, and we're taking that national. So we're going to help all the candidates across the country with this program that we've done in New York City. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Because I like Theo. He has Rep My Block, but what's amazing is they're using Rep Your Block.
Yeah, I know. There's other. That's the DSA. Some other Yang Band has
a way to really. I mean, they're pro-incumbent. You know, they keep on wanting to elect Nydia Velasquez, and basically, this is how they're able to maintain power. I mean, it's disgusting.
We're working on it, bro. We're working on it.
Like I said, I told Theo if there's any way I could help him,
beautiful.
I'll do it. So, like I said, I'm just a small business owner. I'd love to like I said, until the nonprofit organizations really, they're able, they have to disclose their information. I mean, disclose their funding, so you know who they really work for.
Yeah.
But I ran against a DSA person, ran as a conservative and as a libertarian for city council, and I realized that she's a lobbyist for Pratt. So I always say, if you have a difficult time paying rent, the last thing you want to hear is, "I'm from Pratt and I'm here to stop gentrification." Because they are the developers.
I remember when I was doing the presidential campaign, right? Yeah, Bloomberg's people, right? Yeah. They had declared the day before. Okay? You guys have collected ballot signatures, so you know how crazy this is. They came in that night with 100,000 signatures that night. Yo, what? One day, not even like 24 hours. They just walked in with 100,000 signatures, like, bam, we're done. What? Do you know how sick that is? You guys collect signatures. That's insane, right? Yeah? Yo,
I lost 30 pounds doing it. It was like
insane. Anyways, one of the sick things that I want to tell you guys about right now is here in New York City, there's something called publicly funded elections. For every $1 candidate raises, they get $8 back. That's better than retail, okay? But to qualify for this program, you got to get $250,000 in donations. So only the rich people are benefiting from this program. Do you know how crazy that is?
Yeah. But actually, what most people don't
grassroots
realize,
candidates get fucked.
Yeah,
I'm put something in that about like addressing that issue too.
I found that the grassroots, if people knew that our grassroots, organizers were funded by billionaires, I guess
it does happen. It does happen. You can't stop it.
Isn't really grassroots. Like the JewishVote.org is funded by Soros. Make the Road, which is Soros and the.
They've all been invited. By the way, records of my emails to them will all be part of the report as terms of who participated, who's not participating. Like I said before, Jack Welch talked about how many corporations, right? I'm not that he's a role model for everything, but when he talks about management, he said that a lot of these CEOs make it so that there's no succession plan. They're the only game in town. If you have because they don't want to be disposable. You know what I mean? So they chop down everybody else who might be in their position, but when it's time for them to leave, then the corporation's in a huge bind. They don't have anybody, so they got to pay someone else like crazy because they have no one else to take over. You know what I mean? So you look at DSA, why aren't they participating with a program like this? I have on my video, Theo, they say we're going to work for you, and then they literally push Theo into his seat. Have you seen that video?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
I saw it.
Yeah, well, let's stay focused on getting these proposals. We can stop that kind of thing from happening.
Yeah. But I really think until nonprofit organizations are really forced to disclose their funding, like I ran against this woman, Alexa Aviles, who's a DSA, but what people don't know that she's a lobbyist for Pratt. So her job was to give money to all the nonprofit organizations in our community.
But then the thing is that the president makes a donation, then the vice president makes a donation, and then their wife makes a donation, and then the kids make a donation.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And they also, the politicians make donations too. They pay to play.
Yeah.
It's all on FPV.gov.
And the only way to stop that is through state-funded campaigns. Capping a campaign and then giving a candidate a set amount of money to run with, is the only way to even the playing field. Right now, it's completely uneven, and candidates are forced to go suck up to corporations. You know, I come from Wall Street. I easily could have gone and sucked up to all of my Wall Street, mentors. I didn't want that. I wanted to be a voice of the people. And so I'm one of 6 candidates running in this race and I'm convinced I'm the only one. And I had a goal when I set out to have all 50 states donating to my campaign in Illinois. Right now, today, I have 46 states that have donated small donations to my campaign. And if I don't win, God help me. I've fought harder than I've ever fought for anything in my life, and it shouldn't be this difficult. You know, I thought being a stockbroker was the hardest thing I have ever done. I then lobbied for 8 years on cannabis issues in the state of California, and I thought that was the hardest thing I have ever done. Running for office is absolutely the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, and I am not stopping until I am a voice of the people in Congress.
Yo, big shout out, by the way, to Jeff Young, who's participated many times.
My website is JackieMcGowan.com. I need all the small donations that I can get. My race concludes on Tuesday, and win, lose, or draw, I am so proud of the work that I've done and the people that I've talked to and the hearts that I've touched. And I will continue to do that. Whether or not I make it this round, I'm not stopping until I get into that seat. And I'm getting into that seat eventually. If it's not on Tuesday, it will be later down the road. And I will be a voice of the people.
I love
it.
I guarantee that. We're going to stay in contact. Shout out to my man, Jeff Young, GEOFF.
JackieMcGowan.
Yeah.
JackieMcGowan.com. I need all the support I can get right now.
I will give you some support. I love your passion. I feel the urgency. Yeah.
My
man, Jeff Young finally passed his primary after 4 successive attempts. After grassrooting for 4 successive campaigns where he failed, he finally got in for this round. So he just got in. So shout out to Jeff Young.
Literature. So.
Do your thing, bro. Yo, I'll be out helping you, man. Hit me up, all right?
We'll
be. I'm in town, man. Hit me up. I'm coming out. I will donate a little something. All right, Jack. You got
it's all right. It's all right.
I got 20 from me.
Well, I'm funding myself this campaign, but
I also donate. I'm also donating regularly to an American Union, just so you know. I'm a contributor.
Oh, nice.
No doubt.
Okay, but we'll talk.
Jackie, you're muted. Jackie, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Best of luck to everyone here that's running in a race, because it's the hardest thing that anyone has ever done in their life, and I know it, right? I want to know if there's anything else on the agenda. Otherwise, I got to go pass out literature myself.
I feel you. Hey, I get that. Okay, so I had some other ideas, but look, the document's available for review later on. I think the 28th is when we're closing the document. So if you need to reword some stuff, or if you want to actually put a lot of stuff onto the document, it can help you for a future run. Remember that this will be actually, I think, published on the results. The results and the voting should be done by July 4th. We'll make the results public, and if your name is associated with one of the popular reforms, such as end qualified immunity made by Michelle Lewis from North Carolina, right, then your name might be, preserves this document for history, right? And we're going to do this in successive rounds. So
the only thing that I see missing from this document that I care deeply about is gun reform.
Okay, so add some stuff on your own, you know what I mean?
I would love that.
And then, but good luck in your race. God bless. You can... I'll send 20 for real. Yeah, God bless.
Thank you guys. All right. Thank you, everyone. And Coletta, I don't know if you're still there, but like my heart goes out to you, and I'm just like, I'm so proud of you. And it's people like Coletta as to why I'm running. Like, thank you, girl.
That's right.
You stay the course, okay? You stay the course, and we are going to right all the wrongs. I promise you.
And I got you, girl. I got you. Don't you give up, okay? And then there's something she said that I wanted to add to the list as well is we need to work on the censorship that is going on, because right now the media does control everything. And I have a degree in advertising and graphics design. So I get a lot of invites from companies that we're called content creators. So we control most of the media and what people see on social media. So like even on my posts, when I post some real stuff, it gets censored, or they tell me my videos are blocked and it's giving out informative information. So we need to find a way to get some of those censorship moves so that the people are being able to be a voice for themselves.
So I have a solution for that. Day one, when I become a congresswoman, when that happens, not if, I am going to run a bill and I'm going to mandate that Fox News posts a disclaimer that says we are for entertainment purposes only. You know, if we had that, you know, we wouldn't be where we are right now with so much misinformation. Fox News has been sued in court 2 times, and they have admitted that they are not a news network, that they are an entertainment company. And so they're basically like the WWF of media, right? Like, but people don't know that, especially uneducated people don't know that, right? But if we force them to have a disclosure, that's the only way that we can start this process of, like, you know, unbrainwashing so much of America. You know, like my own parents, like I ran for governor in California last summer, and my father, who's an admitted racist, voted for a black man over his own daughter, you know, because politics have become so divisive because Fox News is not selling news. They're selling entertainment. That's how I would fix it.
Put that on. That's put on the documents. So, force Fox News to disclose that they are for entertainment. Are there any other suggestions for making our process a little bit more democratic over here? Well, I would think. Okay, one actually, I'm going to introduce an idea from Yang Gang. That's actually a group that me and Brian participate with somewhat. It's a little funny right now, honestly. But let's get to the deal. You ever heard of something called democracy dollars? No?
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
why don't you explain, Brian? Go ahead.
Well, yeah. So the idea was give every American $100 to donate to a political campaign. Give power to the people that way, right? Because if you don't have disposable income, you can't really support the candidates that would better represent you. And there's a certain amount of appeal to that, but you know, there's a lot of political spending already. And so the idea that if we had 5 times as much political spending, that somehow people would be better informed, I'm not entirely persuaded that that's how it would work. That the solution to too much spending is even more spending.
Do you have a possible way that you might want to modify it to make it work, or?
Well, my way of modifying it is to stop all the reality show of who, and focusing on who's going to win, who's going to run for this, who's going to get elected to that. Instead, focus on the what, focus on the policies that we want Congress to enact, and just stay focused on that. Just to go back to what Coletta said earlier, she was asking, you know, who has the power to get these things done? Because when they want extra money for the war in Ukraine or anything like that, it's like they snap their fingers and no problem, things sail right through. And so why doesn't that happen on the issues that affect so many tens of millions, hundreds of millions of Americans? Because they don't want to solve these problems. They can keep fundraising by saying, elect us and we'll solve your problems, but they don't actually want to do it. And so the American Union model is about switching that model around. And instead of sending people like Jackie to Congress or Henry to Congress, that then once they get there, they're going to try and build consensus around their ideas. I mean, it's a hard thing to do in a chamber of 535 people. Like I looked on your website, Jackie, and like you've got some things that you're promising to get done in 100 days, but that's not necessarily realistic. And so the American Union model flips that around and says, look, we build consensus around the legislative demands first.
Back up.
Okay,
I want to know exactly
That's
what
fair.
you think I cannot accomplish. Let's debate that.
Farmers and agriculture workers deserve better protection. When I'm elected, I will ensure these protections happen within my first 100 days.
Absolutely. I will introduce a bill to eliminate the tariffs on China because that's actually been a tax on America.
But
I'll
it's,
get
it's
Okay.
easy to introduce bills.
Wait
Everybody
a
can
second.
introduce
Okay.
bills.
So I just want to break this up for a second because we're not here to argue about what's right or what's wrong, right? There's no way you can prove that Jackie's not a superwoman and can't just convince these Republican people to just vote for her bill, right? Because she has that passion. Who knows, right?
I have
yeah,
8
maybe.
years experience in the
Yeah.
legislative process, so please try and tell
Exactly,
me. I
right?
actually
So,
use
We're not here to argue that.
negative
We're just here to
comments
make
as
proposals that'll pass forward. So I understand your your game plan, and I'm here. I do support your game plan with all my heart, man, for real.
I love when people tell me I can't do something because it just makes me more driven.
But what?
Go ahead.
Yeah, but we want to put forward proposals that can get right. If discussing right or wrong, that's for another show. But this one, in this show, we just put as many proposals as we can until we can't put any more about how we can improve the election reform and make things more fair. any other ideas to push this proposal that we can maybe get passed, or anything that anybody wants to discuss on that particular topic?
So I say there's no like perfect election reform that you can pass, right? It all depends on how you want what you want the finished product to look like. How do you want people represented? And so it's a way it just like it sucks a lot of the oxygen out of the room debating, like how we should change the way we vote, or how we should, how we can fix gerrymandering or things like that. And so these are good debates to have, because obviously the system we have isn't working, but they're just means to an end, and the end is putting good policy on the president's desk and getting it signed into law. So we should pay more attention to that.
Quite a strategy. I'm with it, man. Yeah. And by the way, we all gotta have contingencies, right? We're not here to be the only solution. So, Brian is actually a plan that I support, right? But I also support everybody in this room, just so you know. Thank you for participating. I did have, I think we covered some important issues today. Let me just check my thing. I think almost we're done then, right? If anybody doesn't have anything else, but Board of Election hiring practices, I know that's definitely a point of contention down here in New York City. I don't know over there, so I do plan on passing some, I'll have some more language about that in the document. I'll be talking about that if anybody has any comments about that. Okay. Also, voting fraud. I know that a lot of not-for-profits actually, they're not supposed to do political work. They absolutely do, because who writes their contracts? Right, the city. So they're going to get right, and unfortunately, like the Department of the Aging, Department of Health, right, all get involved in these nursing homes, and we know that about the nursing home voting scandals. We just want to make things fair, so we're going to try to have some more, enforcement of, of fairness, and, more investigation of these type of things going on. There'll be some suggestions on that. Any comments or any suggestions?
I think once we start educating people, letting them know the proper way of voting and how the process really works, education is key. Because a lot of people really think the president is the one who controls everything and who make all the decisions. So until we get that that illusion out of people's heads and start letting them understand what our elected officials are there for, whose job title is what, and what their duties are, and actually hold these people accountable for the policies that they're supposed to be presenting for us, the people. So I feel like us putting out a strong message of education will help.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I absolutely agree with improving education. I have a quick question for the candidates. What would you do if the person in the position that you're running for right now endorsed another candidate for the position? Do you think that would be unfair, or do you think that do you think the person currently in office should be allowed to endorse a candidate, or do you think that's out of bounds? What do you think about that?
There's nothing wrong with a candidate endorsing another candidate if they feel if they're endorsing a candidate for their office. That's their prerogative. You can hand out your endorsement as you please, but if your endorsement doesn't, typically endorsements serve to help you with fundraising. They serve to help you expand your base. So that's something candidates can do at their will. I don't have a problem with if my opponent chooses to endorse somebody else to fill his seat, but he's currently sitting in it and he's running for re-election. So I don't think that would happen.
Yeah, your opponent, if he was in office, and okay, that's fine. What about anybody? Any comment, Jackie?
So I am very fortunate to be running in an unopposed seat. The Congresswoman that is currently serving this position is retiring, and she's offered some support to one of the candidates in the form of letting her staff go work for another candidate. But she, told me like point blank that she was not going to endorse anyone, and she told me that she thought that I had an excellent resume and that I would make a very good Congresswoman. And I think she stood back from endorsing because she really wanted to see who was going to win this seat and let the cards fall where they may, right? And I appreciate that. Like, I would have loved to have her endorsement. I would have been disappointed if she had endorsed someone else, because it probably would have given them a leg up. And I am now fortunately running in one of the most open, wide races in the entire country with no clear front runner. And although I may, you know, I may lack, you know, the fundraising that some of my opponents have, like, I know that I've swayed minds. I've been switching Republicans into Democrats, you know, every single day, everywhere I go. And maybe that's my mission, you know. If I don't win, like, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to find a way to get into Congress one way or another, with an endorsement or without it. I am not opposed to a candidate endorsing anyone, especially if they're retiring. I think they should, like, step up if they see a clear front runner. Clearly, in my race, Cheri Bustos did not see a clear front runner.
All right, cool, hell yeah. So that was a powerful presentation right there. Otherwise, the documents, I think we're about wrapping it up, yeah? So, any other particular ideas or comments before shut it down? All right, well, this is the last one. Just so you know, once again, the document's available for y'all. Thanks for participating. God bless. Any last shout-outs before we go? Henry, I know you want to shout out your stuff too, man. And we'll give Jackie one shot.
Hey,
Yeah.
everybody can
Brian,
stop by henrymartinforcongress.com. There you can learn a lot more about my campaign. This is a grassroots campaign. I am in a very difficult race with a Cook Political has us at R+24, but our internal polling shows that we do have a path to victory. And with redistricting, we believe we have a definite path to victory. It's just about getting this race fully funded. No Democrat has had the same pace of fundraising that I've had since 2008. So it is a big deal right now.
Good luck, sir.
Mm-hmm.
The best, yeah. All right. Brian, you want to also shout out your organization, American Union?
Yeah, if you want to learn more about unionizing as swing voters behind a specific legislative package to end poverty, end mass incarceration, and end the endless wars, visit anamericanunion.com. Again, nothing against the great candidates that are running for Congress all over the country, but we need a new model that works for the people and can let us crowdsource functional democracy.
Right, support all the pathways. So go ahead, Jackie. Tell us about your stuff one more time.
I ran for governor of California and last summer, and I got 215,000 people to vote for me. I finished in 7th place out of 46 people on the ticket. I was the highest ranking woman that ran. I got 3 times as many votes as Caitlyn Jenner did, which I tell you is a crowd pleaser, whether you're Republican or Democrat. Everyone just loves to hear me say that I kicked an Olympic athlete's ass, right? And I also had the highest dollar to vote ratio of anyone on the ticket. I raised $31,000 and got 215,000 people to vote for me. And, that says something, right? That says that this can be done now in a new way. People are not getting the news via the radio and a television anymore. They're getting it through social media. And so if we can figure out how to harness the power of social media without money, we win.
Well, that's perfect.
JackieMcGowan.com, JackieMcGowan. I cannot do this without my small donations. Thank you so much.
That's the perfect segue to Coletta. Go ahead.
I just want to say, I pray that everybody continue the good fight. Not saying that in a religious or spiritual way. Just saying take your brick and apply it to the mountain so that we can create a beautiful castle where the foundation isn't just built on one single idea, but it's built on everybody building the foundation so that everybody have a productive, sustainable life. We have to sometimes step out of selfishness, pay attention to what's going on around us. Just because you see someone living in a tent doesn't mean that they don't have a job. Just because you see someone living in a car doesn't mean that they don't have a job. It just means that we have to look at ourselves and examine ourselves when we can walk past someone that it has less than us and go to sleep at night and be content with that. So my last closing word is don't be content walking past someone that you know need help now. Don't wait for the government to do what you can do now. Sometimes the universe don't put things in your position for yourself. It gives it to you to help someone else. So continue to be that force and be the change you want to see.
Yo, what's up? This is DGL7. Check out my website, dgl7.com. Stay tuned for our next project where we're actually going to be collecting the data for the Republicans and Democrats, right, and all this other stuff, right? We're going to FOIA request everything for the entire country and make this available for. We're going to make these campaign consultants, corporate campaign consultants, obsolete. We're going to free source all the data. We're going to open source everything, share with you the strategies, right? Help you with your access, fill out your forms to like run for office, right? We're going to democratize this shit. So thanks for participating with U5 Platform 22. Let's work together and let's make common sense changes for the people. God bless. Thank you.
DJ, thank you so much for the great conversation and for the space that you've provided. You rock.
Thanks. Hell yeah.
Salute, King. We appreciate you, DJL7.
Good luck.
Man,
Good luck to
baby.
everybody. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good luck on Tuesday, Jackie.